Well, good afternoon, everyone. We are here with Dr. Victoria Talwar. She's a professor in the Department of Educational and Counselling Psychology at McGill University. Dr. Talwar is the director of the Daniel and Monica Gold Center for Early Childhood Development. Her transformative and innovative interdisciplinary research on children's verbal deception, moral development, and child witness competency issues has informed current debates about children's social cognitive development and has contributed to legal reform in Canada. Dr. Talwar will speak with us about her ABS talk and its connection to peace, particularly the intersection of peace with parenting, family, and education. She'll also educate us on the Bahá'í contributions to these interconnected areas. Welcome, Dr. Talwar, to this interview. I guess I want to start by asking you to explain for us the nature of your ABS talk and its connection to peace.
Well, actually, I think it very much is actually about, in many ways, peace, because I'm talking about the family and parenting roles and parenting sort of purpose. And in the writings, it's very clear that parenting's purpose is that we integrate spiritual teachings and moral teachings. But the reason we do this is not based on the child's development and in order for personal gain or personal achievement, but really because it is for that children may become a source of social good, Abdu'l-Baha says, that they radiate, he says, the oneness of humanity, and that they be contributors to the progress of humanity. And so Abdu'l-Baha says very clearly that the family is the sort of sacred unit of the of society, of humanity, sort of the basic foundation of humanity. And parents' role is to educate their children in a very holistic way. And the purpose of this is that we can contribute to the advancement, this ever advancing civilization. And it is connected to peace because it is where we learn in the family how to engage and interact with each other. Abdu'l-Baha clearly makes it, saying that if you have injustice in the family, if equity is not held up in the family, if people do not act with integrity and trustworthy in the family, this then ripples out into the wider society. So it is actually by building the blueprint for how we interact with each other in the family and teaching that and developing an environment based upon these spiritual principles that we will have an impact on the wider society. So it's like where personal transformation meets social transformation. So in order for there to be peace, we need to start at the basic human unit, which is the family.
Sure. I mean, that's excellent. What I'm hearing from you is a kind of a grassroots approach to understanding peace. And the basic unit, or as we say, the basic unit of analysis here is peace. Family in reference to peace. My second question here, the intersection of peace with parenting, family, and education. I guess at this point, how does education come into play in order to make or foster a peaceful approach to family life?
So if we think about it, Baha'u'llah says that we are a mind rich in gems. The true self is this mind rich in gems. And so you can think of parents as spiritual miners, for instance. But the tool, Baha'u'llah clearly says we're rich in these gems, but it is only through education that they can be revealed. So our tools as parents is education. If we are miners, then our tool is education in order to develop and nourish these inner capacities of the children. If we leave children alone and we don't educate them, they're not going to suddenly manifest these abilities. They're not going to suddenly develop this on their own. We have to teach them. We have to nourish that in those capacities in them so that they can develop them and grow them. They don't learn skills by themselves. And the first educators are parents. In fact, very clearly, the mother is very much the first educator. And this is education begins in the home. Character is formed in the home. The blueprint of how people relate to each other and understand how they can collectively come to decisions together and work together starts in the home. And we have to start by educating it in the home. If we want peace in a wider society, but we have conflict in the family, there will not be peace. And that is very clearly said by Abdu'l-Baha in many places. So we need to start by creating homes where the individuals, the individuality of each person is respected and valued, their uniqueness, but also where there's an understanding that there are rights and obligations between each of the members of the family.
Sure.
And when we understand that we live both in the context of where individuality and the uniqueness of each individual is valued, but also that we do not live in isolation. It's not just about ourselves. It is about how we engage within the mutual support of a unit. And the family is immediately equated not only with the family of the home life, but the family of humanity. Yeah. And education is the tool that gets us there.
Sure. Right on. I mean, we're at something of a crossroad in our collective journey as a species. Gender roles, for example, are undergoing profound transformation here. What are the specific roles in which both fathers and mothers play in fostering a peaceful approach to parenting?
I think parents play a really key role. And often how that plays out within the family has to be in a way where both the mother and the father, that they're respected and in a way, but where they are carrying out the mutual goal, which is the nourishment and the development of their children. And so while it says clearly, that the man may indeed, there may be a time when the mother needs to focus at home. After having a child, you often need to be home. You need to recuperate from having your child, but also the mother is nursing and giving a lot of attention to the infant. And the father may be the one that's going out and earning. But it is not so that it is not where it must be a certain way. Gender roles are not these fixed things, but rather it's an overriding spiritual principle that the parents are contributing to the development of their children, and that they work together, and that each one, the integrity of each one should be respected and upheld while working together in a mutual way to support each other. And so that allows for diversity in expression and how it works in the family, based upon yet the spiritual principle of always the underlying goal is for the flourishing of the family, of all the individuals in the family, while also working together.
Very good, very good. That was very much to the point, and I appreciate the answers. If you would like to share anything else on this intersection of peace, education, and family with our viewers, please do so.
I think that what makes, within the Baha'i perspective, what is unique compared to the wider discourses is the fact that the family is very much rooted and connected with the wider family of humanity. And there is constant references about how basically we must have strong families that are strong in spiritual principles, in rectitude of conduct, following the spiritual laws, adhering to the spiritual laws, shunning hypocrisy, fanaticism, backbiting, and developing ways to work together and respect sort of the whole and find that, and that becomes the blueprint for humanity. And that is with a real focus on the spiritual aspect of it. And I think that is that very clear line that is emphasized over and over again in the Baha'i writings. Abdu'l-Baha clearly draws that line constantly to us, is something that is often not included in the discourse out there. And, we talk about peace often, we talk about it by, national actors, and, we think of it in an international arena. And what I would like to suggest to readers is that, to listeners, is that really we have to think about it right from the start. The foundation of this is the family. And so if we ever want peace, we actually have to put this at the forefront in our minds. Often the education of children and family life is something, everyone nods, thinks it's important, but we do not, in our society, give it first priority. And yet I would put to them that if you read the writings, this is actually the first priority. It is the first step to ever building this everlasting peace. And therefore, as society, we need to support families. The Universalist Justice says that if we neglect it as a community, the Universalist says, we cannot do it with impunity. The Universalist Justice in their 2000 message said they are the most precious treasure of a community, and puts the emphasis on the community. And therefore, I think that this really has to be at the forefront of realizing that this is one of the most important things we can do collectively in the community, is find ways to strengthen the family life, support parents, and educate our children.
Very good. So what I'm hearing from you is that ultimately peace is a condition that unfolds in the minute practice of everyday life.
It does. Because if you think about it, if you have injustice in the family, for instance, if we teach our sons to grow up and to treat for instance, the sister in a derogatory way, where there's inequity and injustice, then that son learns to go out and he perpetuates that idea in other settings, in the school, out in the work life, out in the wider society. But when we raise our sons to be to treat others with justice and equity, to be generous, to be not competitive, to help others, that ripples out from the family that ripples out into the classroom, into the work world, and to the larger society, onto the international arena. So we are setting, how do we want people to, what do we need for people to actually be peaceful and work together? We need to start teaching that in the family. And once we have individuals who are strong because they've learned it in the family, they can become very active protagonists in taking this out into the world, and it transforms the world.
Somewhere I read in Shoghi Effendi's writing that part of the problem in the relationship between the parents and their offspring has to do with that kind of an authoritative approach from parents, that children will end up following what they're asked to follow. Do you see that being a problem, in that we're just being lenient, or something of a trend in your research? Is there something?
I'm just going to make sure I understand the question.
Sure.
Is the question that there's a problem where parents are being too lenient with their children? Yes. Okay.
And Shoghi Effendi wrote about this.
Yes, yeah. I agree. Yes. Yeah. In modern society, especially Western sort of influenced society, psychological theory in that, talks about that if we're too authoritarian, this has negative impact on children, and that has a negative outcome for children. That's clearly established in the research. Sure. And I think that message has gotten out there, and there is a focus on more authoritative type of parenting. But unfortunately, I think there becomes this misinterpretation that has developed, I see, in society, where now any control is bad, but then as a result, parents think they shouldn't create any boundaries whatsoever.
Sure.
But we actually do need to create boundaries. Children flourish with having a framework. You need some rules. You need to set some boundaries. If you take a vine, right, a grapevine, and you just let it go, it'll sprawl on the ground and grow unruly, and it won't produce as much fruit. But we have to give it something to grow on, right? So we do need to create them. And so this has often led to parents being afraid because they've been told that's bad, but over-interpretation, so they almost let their children kind of go. And I think that leads to sort of, if we don't teach our children our values and not just teach them, it's good, honesty is the best policy, but actually teach them how to be truthful.
Sure.
If we kind of step out of that role, they're not living in a vacuum. Popular culture will rush in and teach it for them, and they may not be the standards that you actually wish them to learn.
Exactly, which is why I asked the question: where do we draw the line, basically, here between human agency and parents' agency? And you spoke clearly about that, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time, Dr. Talwar. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Great, thank you.
And have yourself a great day.
Great, thank you.